Happy Friday, beautiful people. I'm Mariquita Solis, and I'm so excited to be here today. Fridays are special days, and we have an amazing guest, Victoria Moran, who is just a shining star in the vegan movement. So I'm super excited she's here, and I'm super excited everyone here watching and on the replay. Please give StreamYard permission to use your name. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe. And let us know where you're joining from. And if you have any questions, we're here. Victoria is a wealth of information and wisdom, and she has a beautiful heart. So I'm excited to start this conversation. Thank you so much, Victoria, for coming here today.
Oh. Well, thanks for inviting me. It's always just such an honor when somebody wants to hear what I have to say. So thank you very much.
Well, your words are very powerful. And your words and your behaviors and your thoughts, all of it, everything about you has made such an impact on this vegan world and the animals and the planet. So I'm very honored to share this space with you. And I can feel that kind energy that you have in your heart. And the world has really benefited from that. So thank you.
Well, we get it from each other and then we pass it on. There are just so many amazing people doing this work and so many trailblazers that went before. So it's very cool to be part of that.
Yeah, it is. You're right. We're all working together. Hi, Nancy. Hi, Nancy P. Hi, Nancy Love. Thanks for joining us, you all. And yeah, I'm delighted to hear Victoria live also. So Victoria, tell our listeners that might be younger, that might not know about you, tell us about where you are now and how you got started with this vegan movement and what inspired you to become vegan.
Well, it goes way back, and I'm always challenged to keep it short at this point. So I went vegetarian at the age of 19. I'd kind of started on that path at 17. I'd wanted to do it even as a child because the animals didn't know what I was doing and didn't manage that the few times I tried it. But when I was 17, I was introduced to yoga. And even though there were only 3 books in the library at that time, they all said that if you're going to be serious about yoga, you had to stop eating animals. So I was on that path very early. And when I did hear about veganism a few years later, it was not at all well known like it is now. In fact, vegetarianism wasn't even then where veganism now is now. But I did hear about the American Vegan Society, and I learned about how cows have to have calves to give milk and how male chicks aren't needed in the egg industry and all the other horrors that probably most people who are with us today are well aware of. And I absolutely knew this was for me. I have to change. I have to be vegan. I could not do it. It was difficult back then because it was so odd. There were no foods, prepared foods or anything like that. But for me, even more, I was dealing with a binge eating disorder. And when that craving took me over, I'm lucky that I stayed vegetarian. It was really bad. I was a food addict. And so I'd cycle in and out of being vegan. But the founders of the American Vegan Society, Freya Dinshaw and her late husband, Jay, always believed in me. And they always treated me like a vegan, whether I was on the wagon or off. They always treated me like I had arrived at where I wanted to be. And because they believed in me, I ultimately made it. And it took going to Overeaters Anonymous and committing to that program to recover from my binge eating disorder. But once I had the power of choice about what I would eat, I chose vegan and was so happy to be able to do that, to raise my daughter that way. She's in her 30s now, and she's a stunt performer and a professional aerialist, and no animal products ever. And she's just so strong and muscular and all of that. So for me, it absolutely was for the animals from the beginning. And yet I have the health benefits, which I didn't even think I would get. I thought I would never lose weight because I would be eating all those carbs, but instead the extra 60 pounds that I was carrying just kind of melted off over a period of a year. And they're left way back there in the Reagan administration. Haven't seen them since. And I don't have any of the health difficulties, or I'm not on any medications as the people who reach this age in my family all were. So it is a win-win, and I'm so grateful to have found this.
Wow. Yeah. And you touched on something that I can relate to, that those addictions, the food addictions, and struggling. And because I was vegan and then I went back to vegetarian for the same thing. And then I had to go back and I was falling down. And I hear a lot of times people say, well, that wasn't a real vegan, or that person never was vegan. And I'll say, I believed in my heart I was vegan, but it's not just black and white. While I loved animals, I was struggling with myself, trying to heal myself with these toxic foods and getting trapped, with a thing of ice cream, right? Because at the point when I switched back, vegan ice cream wasn't so easy. And so here I am crying, I got to get something. And I go to the store, there's nothing, right? Well, something's got to heal this thing. So let me bring on the cake, or let me bring on the ice cream, and so, and hearing that makes me feel good. And I know a lot of people, the way that your friends supported you, the leaders of the Vegan Society supported you, was such a tremendous gift. And for you and now everyone else to give that back to other people. You're the example here, and they're the example too of what you learned is to be gentle. And I was just talking about this yesterday about, like, if we saw someone falling down, we wouldn't condemn them. We would ask, we would reach our hand out and say, how can I help you? And it's the same thing. And this is so important in the vegan movement, to hear stories like that. That you had someone supporting you with kindness and love and non-judgment. This is crucial. So
it is crucial, and it's so tough. It's so tough, especially for those of us who are ethical vegans. Now, it's one thing if we're talking to somebody who's never heard of this before, somebody for whom, they've never had a particular interest in animals or environmentalism or any of the other things that bring people to this way of life. And yet, when you think about the animals and what's going on, you just want to push people. You just want to say, don't you get it? Can't you stop? And yet that pushes people away. And it's so hard, because I just want to say, here are the facts. Here are the pictures. Stop. And yet, for whatever reason, it has to come from within the person. But the one thing I do think we can do is what I call attraction activism. And that is just be the best example of being vegan as you can be. And we're not talking about looking like the cover of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. This just means being your best self, living your best life. If you've got some dream on a back burner and you could possibly bring that thing forward and do it, if you can exhibit to other people that you might not be living the life they absolutely want, but you're living your best life, then they're going to want what you have. And they're going to see, well, this person is eating in this interesting way, or this person has this reverence for life that expands beyond humanity. Let me look at that. Not necessarily because I was thinking about that, but because I'm interested in you and what you've done. So hooray for attraction activism. I think it works really, really well.
Well, you're right. It does, because people see you shining and then they say, I want some of that. Like, what has she got? And when they start to learn about you, when you cultivate these relationships instead of just, it's all about me. This is what I want you to know. This is what I want you to know, instead of building that relationship and understanding that person, which is so beautiful to have. Is like, I want to respect you enough that I hear your viewpoint and I understand you and I respect that. And so it sounds like, that's what you're doing. And I also know that when you go out, I remember seeing a live stream where you're going to the events, that you're bringing the most creative, the most tantalizing, delicious dish. And that's
Yes, we absolutely can get them with the food. And I never think of that right away, because when I was becoming vegan, nobody was getting me with the food. We just didn't have great food. At that time, everybody who got interested in this, at least that I knew, I think it was a little bit different in the UK. They had a head start on us. And so I think they were doing a little more with the cuisine earlier. But basically in the States, when I was getting into this around 1970, people took one of two roads in terms of their food choices. They either did natural hygiene, which was a lot of raw food, fruit only in the morning, salad, nuts and seeds, maybe some baked potato, little steamed vegetables, that kind of thing, but pretty, straight and narrow. Or they took the macrobiotic route, which was also pretty straight and narrow, but it was cooked, and a lot of brown rice, cooked vegetables, and macrobiotics allowed for fish, but obviously the vegans weren't eating that. And so people kind of got in their camp and did that sort of thing, but it wasn't like now. It wasn't like, what, I just really, really, really would like some cheese on these crackers. And now, of course, we can do that. And we went through the phase. First, there was no vegan cheese. Then there was really, really bad vegan cheese. And now there's this magnificent cheese you can serve to French people. It's quite a new world.
I know you're right. And I was just talking to someone because two people in the past couple of days were mentioning as cheese being like we can't let go of the cheese. And I said, well, vegan cheese has really changed. Sure, there's some that I bought, that I ran out and grabbed at the store, which isn't very good, but I was able to doctor it up with herbs. And I said, go to a higher quality store and you'll get this beautiful cheese. And at my church, I go to Unity. And I love that because I'm the leader of the animal ministry there. And so I'm really trying to bring in not just companion animals, but all animals. So Reverend Richard was wanting to try this cheese that we were at an event and it just came up and it was beautiful that just loving them and being happy at the event, I was able to tell him about the vegan cheese. So I made it and he said, that's the best cheese I've ever had in my life. Oh my gosh. He was like, and it's good. It's not going to, it's a healthy cheese. It's coming from cashews. It's, it's not whole food. But you know what I mean? When we're comparing this dairy cheese to the cashew cheese, yes, it's definitely better for you.
Oh, and I count it as a whole food. They're cashews. They're ground up. Nothing's taken away.
All right.
Yeah. So I love tree lime. I love Kite Hill. I love a lot of the Miyokos. You just have to experiment a little bit and make kind of a party out of it. So I just wanted to ask, with you being part of Unity, that we're having the second annual vegan spirituality retreat at Unity Village in late October, the Road to Eden. So hope to see a lot of your followers there.
Oh yes, I would love that. I wish I'm going to go next year. That's very, I was so touched by the interview with you and Reverend Carol Saunders and hearing that, oh my gosh, I was like, Unity, yes, because isn't that what this is all about? The concept of veganism.
Well, Unity is an interesting story in that there were a lot of founders of religious movements back in the 19th century who were vegan. So John Wesley, who founded Methodism, vegetarian was, what they said back then. So we had John Wesley, then we had General William Booth, who founded the Salvation Army, and Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, who founded Unity. And they weren't vegan, they didn't get it about dairy, but they did not wear any leather. They bound their Bibles that they printed in this faux leather that they had back in the early 1900s, quite remarkable. But then over time, after they had passed away, that vegetarian message kind of fell away. But what's so exciting is that it's coming back. And the CEO of Unity Worldwide Ministries, Shad Groverland, is vegan, which is so cool. And so I think in all of our institutions, we just need to be there. And, so often people say, oh, I'm just so sick of this, church or association or whatever it is, because they just don't get it. Well, no, and they're never going to get it if we leave. So we need to be there, shining our light, bringing our oat milk, and whatever it is that we need to do until people can start to see, oh, you know what? This is maybe something we need to be looking at.
That is so true. We can't run and hide on an island. That doesn't do our mission any good. And I'm so happy that every event at Unity has plant-based, whole food, vegan food for me. That's a requirement. That's that one of the organizers of the events, he is vegan. I think almost vegan, vegetarian, vegan, but he makes sure there's something there for everyone, which is amazing. Because the first time I went, I thought there's not going to be anything for me, and they had vegan grilled cheese, and I ate it, and I thought this isn't vegan, but it was. I was so happy. So yeah, that's wonderful. And Aaron's saying, great plant cheese, BioLife and Applewood. I haven't tried Applewood, but I've heard a lot about BioLife. And let's see here. And Nancy Love, here's a great rural, low income, isolated area. Oh, and we have Yoko's wonderful products at the grocery outlet, which is a very cheap food outlet. Yes. And Nancy P is saying, I try to avoid telling people who they are or not. As you are both saying, the vegan is in everyone's heart. That's so beautiful. When people fall down, it's so important to lift them up. Yes, amen to that. It's vegan to me is heart-centered. And I can feel that from you, Victoria. And obviously the leaders of these ministries that you're talking about obviously felt it too. That heart-centeredness with connection with all of the world.
Well, to me, my veganism has always been a very important part of my spiritual path, spiritual life. And I know it's not like that for a lot of people. It doesn't matter to me why somebody's vegan, as long as they make it over here. And they can call it plant-based, they can call it whatever they want to call it. But for me, like I said, I was first inspired to vegetarianism through yoga. And then I went to school. When I went late to college, there were problems in my family when I was in high school, so I didn't go to college until my late 20s. But when I finally went, I got a degree in comparative religions, and I earned a fellowship for foreign study. They said you can study anything you want as long as you leave North America to do it. So I went to the UK to study vegans, because at that time there were so few over here. There were more there, plus it's a smaller landmass. You could get to them more easily. And I had this amazing 3 weeks in England, Scotland, and Ireland, meeting some of the people who had been around at the very formation of the Vegan Society back in 1945. And I remember one of them saying, we didn't know if our bones would disintegrate or if we'd perish in a fortnight. We did this out of pure, disinterested compassion. And I remember thinking, I want to be you when I grow up. And so that was also inspiring. And I had to write my paper for the fellowship. And that paper was my first book. There was a beautiful gentleman in the UK named John Wynne Tyson. And you can look him up, WYNNE-TYSON. He did beautiful books himself, including an anthology of animal rights, which is so wonderful. So he acted as a literary agent for me and got me the publisher. And, that was my first book. And that was looking at vegans from a religious and spiritual perspective. And then fast forward, these many years, that book was published in 1985. And then just last year, 2020, with my husband and 2 other interfaith ministers. The 3 of them are ministers. I am the token layperson. We founded the Compassion Consortium, which is a spiritual center for animal advocates. And it's so exciting to us to be a spiritual home or second home for people. A lot of people are in spiritual communities, and it's very important to them and should be. And yet their vegan side or their animal rights side just isn't appreciated or understood there. So we have our celebration services at 4:00 Eastern Time, the 4th Sunday of the month. So we don't interfere with anybody who has their religious practice on Saturday or on Sunday morning. And then we're also spiritual home for people. We had one woman come and she said, I've been a Baptist my whole life, but I just could not go back to that church after they roasted the pig. And, for some people, it just gets to be a bridge too far, and the Compassion Consortium is there for them. So it's really cool. When I graduated with that degree in religious studies, I thought I'm the only person in my class who isn't going to go to seminary. And yet now it's almost as if that happened. So life is funny and kind of perfect.
Yeah, I love that. I wish I had a degree in that, because I wish I had. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts in photo design, but there was only two for me. I had to pick between philosophy and religion, and I chose philosophy. I wish I had taken so much more religion, because it's fascinating to me to see how other people connect to this great source of life. Right. And whatever it is, it's just amazing studies. So yeah, that's incredible that you would choose that.
I still have some of my textbooks, and in the margins, it's like, and they said that in Taoism, and that was in Judaism. And the truth is, as I see it, underneath all the arguments and all our ways, the best way, and our teacher's the best teacher and all that, if you get under that, there's what Aldous Huxley called the perennial philosophy, this eternal teaching that life does have meaning and purpose, and that there is a divine essence, however you want to describe that, and that is the very heart and soul of every being. It's what connects us with one another and with everybody who has life. And once you kind of wake up to that, everything changes. Then life is no longer just, okay, all right, I've got to work and then I can quit, but by then I'll be too old to enjoy it. What's the use kind of attitude into this just absolute utter delight at every day that, yes, I know that things are going on that are absolutely horrific, and I'm going to put energy every day into trying to change some of that. And yet, alongside that fact is the truth that there is meaning that we don't understand, and that we are engaged in a very, very powerful and wonderful process, and that just even to be a human on this earth is so rare and so precious. There's an old story, I think it's a Zen story, that says that having a human body is a very, very rare thing to get. And that if you imagine standing at the edge of a vast sea, and you have this little wooden ring, like an embroidery hoop, and you throw that out into that vast sea, the likelihood that a blind sea turtle who only comes to the surface of the water every 100 years will rise to the surface with your embroidery hoop around their neck. That's the likelihood of having a human life on Earth. So we really want to use this for all kinds of good stuff.
Amen to that. All right. We've got tremendous, every day is a new opportunity, right? Every day is a new day to begin and to really be that shining light for veganism. I'm going to move this up a little bit because I don't know why my signal seems to be shifting. I don't know. The only thing is I had moved my computer back. But so someone, let me ask you this. And let's see what Aaron's saying. Oh, yes. And someone's saying love the Compassion Consortium. Yeah. And John Wynne Tyson. Is that who you were talking about?
Yes, yes. John Wynne. Can I just tell you one other sweet thing about him? When John Wynne Tyson started into all this in the early 1950s, and he was dating his to-be wife, and he was vegetarian, and I think at that time he was actually vegan or working to become vegan. And his intended said, okay, for you, I will go vegetarian, but I need you to promise me that you will never expect me to be vegan. And he said, okay. Then years and years and years later, after she had passed away, we're talking maybe 6-7 years ago, he wrote to me and he said, I miss my Jenny every day, but I've managed to become vegan, except if the writing on the food tins is so small that there's something in there that I can't see. So he was in his late 80s when this happened. Bless his heart. He's no longer with us. But just one of the giants. There's so many.
That's sweet. And I love, and now did you say Methodist? Is that right?
Oh, no, that was the founder of Methodism was way back earlier in history. His name was John Wesley. This is John Wynne Tyson. And actually his mother was Esme Wynne Tyson, who was a very popular novelist in Great Britain in the 1920s and 30s. I just find people's lore and their stories so interesting.
Yeah, and that's what connects people is stories. And so that's what is going to open up to veganism when people want to hear your story. So that's beautiful, definitely. And Aaron is saying spiritual veganism. Yes, please. It just makes sense. A refusal to participate in unnecessary cruelty and suffering seems to me to be a spiritual imperative. Amen to that. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and thanks for the wonderful comments and questions. If you have them, let us know. I do have a question from a friend of mine. She said that she recently went to an event, and I'm not sure what it was, maybe a birthday party, and then there was nothing there for her to eat, and only carrots. And everyone else was having fun. And she said that she felt like it portrayed veganism as a negative. And she said, which is more important, animals or being a vegan? And in the fact that a lot of people will see vegans and she said, when, a lot of vegans go into restaurants and they'll start asking, does it have this? Does it have this? Does it have this? Does it have this? And then people are like, well, I don't want to be a vegan. And so is that doing more harm to the animals than taking a lighter approach?
Yeah, I actually have a little story about that in my book, Main Street Vegan. Probably many of the people who are with us today know Bruce Friedrich. He was with Peta for many years. He was with Farm Sanctuary, and now he heads up the Good Food Institute. And Bruce was out with a lot of people that were not vegan, but they were going to do some investing and some work in this field. And to accommodate Bruce, they chose an Italian restaurant because they figured he can eat the pasta, it will all be good. Well, it turned out that this Italian restaurant only had fresh pasta, which had egg in it. And Bruce opted to eat the pasta that day because he felt, just as your friend was saying, that in that particular instance, not as some kind of excuse of, okay, now I gotta eat whatever I feel like, but in that particular instance, that to sit there with his little side salad and make people think that they were investing in something that nobody would want to do, it was just going to be counterproductive. So one of the great things is that nowadays there is more available for us. And I think your friend was actually talking about two different things. In terms of the birthday party where she only had carrots, you need to bring your own food to these kinds of things. And you need to talk to people. You need to communicate with them. And if you think about it in a different context, so often people say, oh, they think already I'm kind of crazy. I don't want to go with the vegan thing. Well, what if you kept kosher? What if you had an allergy? You wouldn't think anything about explaining to people what you needed, what you could eat, what you couldn't eat. And so to bring food, yes, it's a lot of trouble. We cook when we're at home and then we go to other people's houses and we still have to cook. You know what? It's just a little gift we give the animals. So you make sure not only that you have something to eat, but that what you bring is so enticing that that's what everybody else wants to eat too. And then in terms of restaurants and things of that nature, if you can do a little prep work beforehand. So say you're out with people and you don't want to say, I didn't eat this and I don't eat this and I don't eat this. Call the restaurant ahead of time and tell them all the I don't eats. And then it's all taken care of. You can also, if you are in a place that has no vegan options, which these days is getting to be pretty unusual, almost every place will have something. But if they don't, there is food in that kitchen. So whatever is a side dish for some meat offering, it's there. They can make it for you. And especially if you call in advance, the chefs love to have something different to do. And very often it'll be like some kind of vegetable plate, which won't make you really full. You'll probably need to go somewhere and, get a smoothie or something afterwards. But it'll look so pretty that everybody will say, "Oh, I wish I had that." So it's just getting used to being a minority by decision. And it's a lot easier than it used to be. But the same old techniques that we used back when nobody had any vegan food anywhere, we can still use now when things are a little bit tough.
Yeah, that's so true. And you brought up some really good points. And also I loved what you're saying, because you're framing it like this is your choice. It's not like you're depriving yourself. And then people do love the color. And I was sitting with someone who was eating chicken, and I was eating portobello steak, and he tasted my portobello and he said, "Well, that's better than my meal." So that which was, I love those moments. They're wonderful. And tomorrow I'm actually going with Unity Church, and then we're going to go to a little town in Georgia. I mean, very country. I looked at the restaurant and it's all sorts of country food, fried chicken and all this. So I actually did call the restaurant and ask them. So I'm glad you gave me that inspiration again. I might make some vegan cupcakes or something to take, and I definitely don't want to make a big deal out of it tomorrow. I want to enjoy my food. I don't want them to think, well, here's that radical person. We didn't know she was crazy till we went on this outing with her. So,
and yet everybody who's ever been a trailblazer, everybody who's ever been at the forefront, I mean, think of when women started wearing pants back in the days of Amanda Bloomer. I mean, this was considered shocking and horrifying. And people who have stood up for the rights of various human groups, and they were always seen as radical, as extreme. What's wrong with you? Well, nothing was wrong with them. They were just early. And what's so interesting in a case like this is we don't know where we are historically. So we know that, for example, in terms of animal rights and choosing kind eating, we know that there has been a long history. There have been vegetarians and even vegans before the word vegan was there throughout history. We know in modern times, veganism came onto the scene 1944, the word was coined. So there is some history. We know that PETA was founded in 1980, and the word animal rights, the term was coined in 1975. So there is some history. But if this were the abolition of human slavery in America, is it 1650? Is it 1790? Is it 1862? We don't know. And so we just have to keep at it and hope that we're here to see the fruition of all this, to see the end of animal suffering in a almost at least entirely vegan world. And if we're not, then we'll just know we were part of that process. Somebody will be here to see it.
That's true. We're passing the torch, and I'm inspired by all the youth and I know that we had talked earlier and how you were saying that veganism needs to be cool and hip. And I think it's moving to that, the plant-based doesn't have that terrible stigma anymore. It's more, I think it is a different way of looking at things that young people are open to.
Yes, much more. And Nancy is writing some interesting things in the chat. And now she uses the term plant sourced, which I like a lot. I've always had a problem with plant-based because it implies it's based. It's like if I said my neighbor's kids go to a math-based school, you wouldn't think that they didn't have English or history or art. It's based on math. They still get all the other stuff. So if my diet is based on plants, then I can still eat all the other stuff. So that's not my favorite term. And yet it's so funny how different people react to vegan and other words as well. So a lot of people take it wrong, like Nancy is saying, and they don't think it's going to be good. And yet in other instances, I was in the regular grocery store here in my neighborhood in Harlem. There's a big display of dates, and they were stamped with these great big green stickers, vegan, capital letters. It's like, it's a fruit. They've always been vegan. But evidently some kind of demographic research told them that if they stamped vegan on there, that would at least come across to some people as healthy, fresh, pure, better than if it didn't have that seal. The same when I go to the Aveda salon, they'll say, always vegan or cruelty free. I mean, it's all over everywhere as a marketing point. And so it's really interesting. For some people, it's going to be a turnoff. But for more and more people, and as you say, especially younger people, it's starting to be a positive. So I just think we need to try out all the words and all the phrases and just see how far we get.
Definitely, you're right. And see who you're talking to, right? I mean, that when I was on the phone with the restaurant earlier about tomorrow in that little country town, she said, I don't really know what vegan is. So I wanted to make sure, like Earthling Ed said, that she left with a good feel, right? Instead of saying, well, what do you mean? Saying, well, this is what it is. And I'm excited to come to your restaurant. I'm sure I'll be able to find something good, and that's the main thing. Tomorrow when I go, let me be known for, if she does know that I'm vegan or anything, that let me be known for someone being positive and happy, right? That's the main thing. And that I choose this. I'm not like in some prison because I'm vegan, but this is a choice of love. Right? That's the difference.
And when it's described that way, and when we can focus on, and I know this is something Nancy is doing in Baltimore with so much success, when we focus on how good the food is, which it is. I mean, this is not just some kind of animal rights propaganda tactic 101, say the food is good. The food is fabulous. And so when we can kind of forward that and not say, well, being vegan means you don't eat this, and you don't eat this, and you don't eat this, and then you don't wear leather, and then you don't go to circuses, and you don't go to SeaWorld, you don't. People are waiting for the vow of celibacy. But if instead it's like, oh, we eat all this amazing food from the plant kingdom, and you can do it like super, super healthy with just the fresh food and what you get from the farmer's market, it's so amazing. Or you can have all of these wonderful vegan products that you would think you were having a pizza and burgers and ice cream and grilled cheese and everything else that you miss. There's just any way you want to do this is available. The food is fabulous. My doctor is thrilled that this is what I do. And, all this stuff is true. I remember about 15 years ago, thought, I should get my heart checked out, because I'm getting up in years. And I went to this female cardiologist who was supposed to be the big expert in New York City on women's hearts. And she was almost like disgusted. She said, I put people on medications to get numbers like yours. She said, I wish all my patients would eat like you. And then she kind of paused and said, I wish I would eat like you. So, it's just such a wonderful way of life, but people are afraid and people don't want to change. And we read these statistics. Somebody a few years ago was saying, the recidivism rate for vegans is 80%. And I was talking to Dr. Neil Barnard about that. And he said, yes, but the average number of times it takes a smoker before they quit is 9 tries. And I think most people make it to vegan in fewer than 9 tries.
I think you're right. Definitely. And that reminds me also about what Dr. Angela Crawford is saying. It's okay to fall down. That's normal to fall down and get back up and to, this back and forth. This is a huge life shift. But when we think we're programmed so heavily in another way of eating, we're going against that foundation that's been built and built and built. So, to say it's all right, fall down, get up, we'll get right back up and get back on that, on that thriving, eating from the plants and feeling good. So, yeah. And Erin has got it right here. It's never too late or too early to do the right thing. Yeah. And the right thing is what feels right in your heart. And so this is again, like what you're talking about, when you really connect with that heart and that sense of this whole universe in play, right? The animals and everything is included in that whole universe. And when you're living in alignment with that, and that is about spirituality, like you're saying. I mean, for me, it is a spiritual journey and getting in alignment with connection with this whole living, the earth as a whole living source, and how I can be beneficial to my earth. And this is the best way for me. So
Amen.
thank you. Let's see what Nancy's saying here. Thank you for all these comments. Yes, vegan cannot be presented as a list of no's. It's a list of yeses, yeses, yes, yes, yes. And also, I love what you're saying, Victoria, because what I'm feeling is it's not all black or white, that there's grays in between. And when we have that, we're able to be more gentle with ourselves and with other people.
Yeah, it's a process, and we are a very small percentage of the population, and it's really, really tricky to know sometimes how to proceed. And so sometimes we just almost have to, it's like a road diverged in a wood, and you just kind of pick one. And you go with what you think the right thing is. I remember Jay Dinshaw, that wonderful man, the founder of the American Vegan Society, who was so instrumental in my growth. He would always say, you just want to do the most good and the least harm today as you see it today. And if you know more tomorrow, if you know something different, then you can change. But you can only do the best you can today. And not expect miracles of yourself, but if everybody were just trying to do that. And I think too, just for people to know that somebody who is sane, somebody who is functioning in the world, somebody who pays their bills and is doing well in their work and their community, happens to be vegan, happens to believe that the rights of non-human beings are as important as the rights of human beings, that looks good. Because so often, I think of the one feature film that had a vegan protagonist that I know of, was something called Year of the Dog. And that vegan protagonist turned out to embezzle funds from her company and be a little bit unbalanced. And in the end, she was going off, I think, to Mexico to just kind of live outside the regular stream of life because she was too sensitive to be able to deal with it. This is not the image we need to be putting out there. We need to be the bright, responsible people that we are, making this choice and letting people know about it. Lots of times people used to kind of keep quiet, like, ooh, if they know I'm vegan, I might not get the job or whatever. I think we need to be very open about it because it's a really positive thing. It shows that we have strength of conviction. It shows that we're willing to keep going when something is a little bit difficult. It shows that we're willing to trust in ourselves. This is a leadership quality. To be a vegan is a leadership quality, and we need to shout it from the rooftops.
You're right. It does take strength because we're living a way that's outside of the norm and we're standing up. And so so many times I see vegans and they don't want to put their face on the profile picture and they don't want to be seen, right? It's like, shine bright. If that's the message that I feel like that's going here, is like to shine bright and be confident and show the world that you're happy with your choices. I mean, goodness sakes, this is an opportunity. You are an opportunity. You are the voice of veganism. So, I mean, the brighter we can shine, the more that, people are going to be illuminated by our light and they're going to say, wow, and, and we have such a tremendous, we are the change makers. So, yes. And let me see. I got another comment here. When I mentioned lifestyle medicine to a doctor, he said, yes, I agree with it, but then I would have to walk the talk. Yeah. That's funny. And then Aaron's saying, let your compassion flag fly. Amen to that. let's see. And Nancy P, is she in your program?
Nancy is a graduate of Main Street Vegan Academy, I'm very proud to say, and so is Dr. Angela Crawford, whom you mentioned. We've had Main Street Vegan Academy, which trains and certifies vegan lifestyle coaches and educators for the past 10 years. We're about to have our 34th cohort starting in October, live via Zoom, so people can participate from wherever they are. And it's stunning. Our graduates do coaching, consulting, writing, speaking, podcasting. Many of them start businesses. I say we as if it's mine, but my graduates have businesses in everything from vegan ice cream, cheese and yogurt, cowboy boots, cooking school, bed and breakfast, co-working space. I mean, they're doing all kinds of things, a bodega in Philadelphia. I mean, it's just amazing what everybody is doing. And then many also get jobs in the plant-based space or for a nonprofit organization. Some have actually started their own nonprofit organizations. When I go to the website of mainstreetvegan.com, and if you click on the second page, the page that says registration and curriculum or curriculum and registration, and scroll down, and there are links to the websites of people like Nancy and others who are doing all these incredible things. And, sometimes when I get a little bit discouraged and think, oh, am I doing enough? Is it going fast enough? I just go and look at that list. And I think these people took this course, which is very varied. We have a wonderful, wonderful faculty of real movers and shakers and bright stars in the vegan and plant-based world. And we also strive to make our graduates experts on the vegan lifestyle. We're not training nutritionists. We're not training chefs. We are training vegan experts who can then go out and do all these amazing things. So if anybody's interested, have a look, mainstreetvegan.com. And because you are a friend of Marikita and you are watching this today, I'm going to give you a discount code, which is kindness20. That's kindness with a capital A, 20, and you'll get 20% off on your tuition for the October course.
That's exciting. I want to do that. That's in my
I hope
future.
you do.
I would love to, because yes, I've talked to Angela about that, and then Vince Tucker, I think.
Oh yeah, Vince Tucker's fantastic.
Yeah, he was very nice and warm, and I loved talking to him. He told me great things. So, yeah, that's very powerful that you're bringing all this together for people and really guiding them to make a huge impact on the world. So,
I don't have any grandchildren, but I feel that I kind of have 600 grandchildren, and some are practically my age, but it's the same feeling. It's the idea of legacy. It's about, going out there into the world. What about vegan artists? Anything for us, Nancy is asking. Well, interestingly enough, we do have people doing some really interesting artistic things. I mentioned the vegan cowboy boots. This woman on the 5th day of class, Kat Mendenhall, we just thought she's doing an awful lot of note-taking, but what she was doing was designing boots, cowboy boots. She's from Dallas, where you got to have your cowboy boots. She was originally going to call them kick butt boots. Turned out that they're called Kat Mendenhall cowboy boots. And then we have people writing fiction. A brand new book, it's just newly on pre-order on Amazon, is called Marrying Myself. That came from Christine Benson, one of our graduates. And then another graduate who was already writing before she came to the Academy, but she has done a novel called Bones and All about a teenage cannibal, and she's looking at this from a vegan perspective. Well, that novel was picked up as a feature film. It's going to come out in a theater near you in November with Taylor Russell and Timothy Chalamet, really, really big young actors. So yeah, we've got people doing artistic things, business things, social things. It's really fabulous what happens when you get very, very good information from very, very, very good people with whom you then have contact. Our faculty is very open to hearing from people later, most of them, which is unusual and very helpful. And when you know that you have follow-up support. And one of the great things about Main Street Vegan Academy, because we are small, we are a boutique program, I know everybody who comes through the course. And if you tell me that you're a writer, or you're an attorney, or you're a Presbyterian, or, whatever it is, then I say, oh, well, I know this person who's that, or this person who lives in your area. And then we have a private Facebook group for afterwards. So there's a lot of wonderful networking. And it's just such a joy to know, I know that I've reached some people in my life through writing books, and I plan to continue to do that. I hope to get the proposal for my 14th book, Age Like a Yogi, out into the publishing arena next week, and pray for the perfect publisher. And yet, I would have to be one heck of an author to reach the number of people that I can reach with 600 Main Street Vegan Academy graduates out there reaching all the people that they're reaching. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is amazing. I love that. You have created a huge legacy, and you're still continuing. It's just, spiraling out. So that's beautiful. And we have so many comments, so many wonderful comments. I can't say enough about how transformational and impactful Main Street Vegan Academy is. Such amazing learning and connections engine. Yeah.
Thank you, Angela.
So sweet. And then here's our sweet Linda. Two of my favorites.
Oh, Linda. Hey, Linda. Linda and I have something in common. We were both selected in different years as Peta's Sexiest Vegan over 50. We should have some kind of reunion.
Yeah, you should. That's amazing.
Yeah, the Sexy Elders Anonymous or something. And Nancy is asking, is there a virtual option for your course? It's live on Zoom. So in a way it's virtual, meaning you don't have to do any. Like when you took the course, Nancy, you had to come to New York City and find a place to stay and, all that. And now it is live on Zoom. We do record every session in case somebody has to miss a class or miss a day. And we've also had people in other parts of the world, Hong Kong, Australia, Kenya, and they can't be there just because of the time zones to get every class live. So they listen afterwards. And another thing, because we're small, I can do these things. And so I say to anybody, if you miss a class, you need to take it in the recording to get your certification. But then if in the next group you would like to take that class live, come on, take it. It's not like you have to jump through a lot of bureaucratic hoops. We're small and private, and I know who everybody is and just want to make sure that they have the best possible experience and the best shot at getting the vegan message out into the world.
Definitely. And yeah, look at Linda, what she said. So cute.
Yeah, yes. We're golden oldies.
Beautiful. Well, Victoria, how long, what's the length of the program?
It's very intense. It's 7 full days, 10 to 6 or 6:30 Eastern time. But then in a way it's forever, because if you want to just take the course and you're there for 7 days and you get your beautiful certification certificate and you go on your merry way, that's fine. It's not like we, track people down or anything. But if you want to stay connected, then we're there for you through the Facebook group, through in-person and online reunions. We do a master class every 2 to 3 years, which is for graduates to get into some of the stickier issues, the more controversial issues. Those are always amazing. We'll probably be doing one in 2023 or 4. Haven't looked that far ahead yet. But we are there for our graduates, and people find one another and support one another, and they get together and they do collaborations. It's very cool.
Well, that's amazing, definitely. And how long do you now? When is the cutoff to sign up for this next starting point?
Well, the class starts October 1st, and so people can really sign up anytime before that. We do ask that you read 6 books prior to the class, and obviously if you sign up the day before, you're going to have to read those books later. And then all we ask is that you not use your VLCE certification, Vegan Lifestyle Coach and Educator, until after you have completed all the prerequisites.
Okay, well, that sounds very interesting. I like that. 6 books, and that reminds me of high school, and I loved reading the books. So, I mean,
Yeah, and all but one are available on Audible. And I don't know, how many of you guys are into audiobooks, but I've just become addicted. I mean, I'm wearing these things all the time because I used to love to be told stories or had stories read to me as a kid, and that kid's still in there with those same proclivities.
yes, I loved books also, and I have Dr. Joe Dispenza's "How to Break the Habit of Being Yourself," the audio book sitting on my table. So I need to be getting on that definitely. And Nancy P is asking, what's the discount code again?
It's kindness20, capital KINDNESS 20.
So everyone definitely sign up for that. And Victoria, since we're coming to the end of the hour, can you sum up what's the biggest thing you want to leave everyone with? That's a hard one. I mean, so many.
If it were a general group, I would say go vegan or step onto that moving walkway, like at the airport. That's going to get you to vegan. It might not get you all the way there today, but it'll get you a little further, and then you can step on another one. But as I look at the list of people leaving comments, they're already vegan. So I would say take care of yourself and find some times to be happy, because we know things that are going on in the world that a lot of people don't. You try to tell somebody about the animal issues and they're just like, I don't want to know, I don't want to see. But we do know, and we have seen. And so often it's easy to think what the animals go through is so awful that I don't deserve to have any fun. I need to totally devote myself to saving them every minute of every day. And if that worked, I would be in total agreement. Yes, we need to sacrifice ourselves for them. I mean, they deserve that. And yet, sacrificing ourselves is only going to make us more depressed, more tired, and despite our fabulous diet, more prone to getting sick and not being able to do the work. So, in addition to doing the work, we need to have fun, we need to laugh, we need to go to funny movies, we need to be around people who make us happy, and get out in nature if that's your thing, whatever it is that feeds your soul. Because you feed, what happens to something you feed? It grows. So you feed your soul, you get a bigger soul, and that's what inspires the work.
Amen to that. And that's such great advice. I mean, that's what we've got to live by, taking care of ourselves first so that we can give back to the world and the animals. So thank you. And let everybody know where they can find you. Where can they find, where's the sign up?
Thank you. I'll try to put that in the comments too. Am I allowed to do that? Doesn't look like it.
But afterwards you can come back in and put it in.
Okay, that'd be good. Well, I'll just say it with a voice now. So the website is mainstreetvegan.com, and everything is there on the homepage and on that curriculum and registration page. The discount code, again, kindness20. And I'm also on all social media at either Main Street Vegan or Victoria Moran Author. So one of those two things will get you to me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And then I've also just started yesterday a brand new podcast. That's the Victoria Moran Podcast, Meetings with Remarkable Women. And my strategy is to just have a really interesting, kind of spiritual, kind of living well sort of podcast that won't always be about vegan topics, so that I can get out there into the non-vegan world. Because, that's always a challenge, to not just be preaching to the choir, as wonderful a choir as we are. And so yesterday, our first guest, it's up on all the platforms now, is Agape Stassinopoulos, who is Arianna Huffington's sister and a very well-known spiritual writer. So she's written this wonderful book about prayer. And just going to be picking some really, really cool women. And I know there are amazing men in the world, but having done the Main Street Vegan podcast for 10 years and had amazing men and women on, I'm just feeling like, for a couple of years anyway, I just want to have some girl talk and see how we do with that. So you can find that on all podcast platforms.
And what was the name of that podcast?
The Victoria Moran Podcast. And then the subtitle is Meetings with Remarkable Women. But if you just put in Victoria Moran Podcast, you'll find us.
Yeah, that sounds amazing, because I loved Oprah's Soul Sunday. I mean, that really, when I was really down, boy, did that lift me up, that soul talk. So yeah, I'm going to check that out. Everybody check all this out. Sign up, my goodness sakes, because this Victoria is a wealth of wisdom. And, this has just truly been an honor. And thank you all for watching, and all the wonderful comments, and the feeling of unity here. So thank you, Victoria, so much.
Thank you. And have so much fun tomorrow. I just think it's going to be so cool. You're going to go to that little town shining your vegan light.
I am. You're right. I will be thinking about you. I'm going to walk the labyrinth, and I'm going to think about everyone here and send out vegan love to the world. So thank you all. And thank you, Victoria. Let's do the Namaste Vegan. Namaste Vegan, everybody.
Vegan.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.